At church, I was a different person. At church, I was a church girl, basically. And I would pray and all of that, but I wasn't really into it. My mind wasn't there, but I was just there for the sake of putting on a face for my parents.
Hello there, and welcome back to our testimony program where we listen to the stories of how God has transformed the lives of our first year students here at Purelight and how He actually eventually led them to Purelight missions. Today I'm joined by Sister Nobuhle Khumalo, and she'll be telling us a story of how God transformed her life and how He brought her to Purelight missions. Good day, Sister Nobuhle, how are you doing?
I'm good, my brother, and how are you?
I am well. Please tell us a bit more about yourself, Sister Nobuhle.
Alright, so I am Nobuhle, who grew up in Johannesburg. At the age of 10, we then moved to Cape Town, where I did my high school at a school called Good Hope High School.
Okay.
But after a year of being there, I then moved from Good Hope to another school. And my life was just an up and down of going to different high schools in the space of 5 years.
Wow. What was the reason for such a lot of movements?
Well, at first I thought that it was because of my dad's job, but then I realized that it was because of the environment that I was in. My parents thought that it wasn't a good environment for me to grow up in.
All right. I believe Good Hope must have been, Good Hope is a Seventh Adventist school based in Cape Town.
Yes,
And yes, it's being a religious school. How was your religious life like there at Good Hope?
Well, it wasn't really about religion for me.
Okay.
It was just about going to school, learning whatever I have to learn, and moving on with life. And I was just there for the friends, not really for what the school has to give on religion.
Wow. So having now this mindset of not being necessarily interested in religious things, what would you say was the reason for you not being interested?
I think it was mostly because of the influence that I had with the friends that I chose. I chose the wrong type of friends, which led me away from God than rather leading me towards God. So the friends that I had, they did all kinds of things, but they did not go to church. And they told me that they influenced me into thinking that church was something that was downgrade. It was a downgrade. It wasn't really something that you need to do for your life. All you need to do is just have fun out there in the world.
It's interesting that you use the word that you chose your friends, meaning that you had a choice to choose either good friends or bad friends, right?
Yes.
So you actually can choose what kind of friends you want to influence you. Wow.
Yes, that's possible.
What made you decide to go with these kinds of friends?
Well, in my eyes, they seemed like the right type of people I would be with, I would come together with, if I can say. And they seemed to be the people that would actually want to be with me. And as much as I thought that, I was wrong. Because at the end of the day, I did wrong things as well. I wasn't leading the path that I would have chosen to lead.
If I could ask you, what was your home background like? Like, did your mom teach you what you're supposed to be doing and what you're not supposed to be doing?
Yes, I was taught. Both my parents are Seventh-day Adventists, and I grew up in that type of a setup. But at home, I would be the good girl that I'm known to be. But at school or outside of the house, I'm a different person. My mom taught me to do the right things. She always told me to say no where I have to say no. And I always have a choice to do right or wrong.
So now these friends that you got involved with, what kind of things did they lead you to do?
Well, they led me into drinking, smoking, going out when I'm not supposed to, and into disobeying my parents, basically, into doing the wrong things that my parents wouldn't want me to do, or even God wouldn't want me to do.
Yeah. And looking back now at the influence of these friends, what lessons can you learn from that? And I don't know if you can have an advice for someone out there that might be in a similar situation. What can you say?
Well, I would say that we have to choose wisely, because sometimes people put on a fake face, if I can say, and they tell you that, no, what you're doing is right, when at the back of their minds, they know that they're leading you into doing the wrong things. And that we should always know between wrong and right. and know that we have a choice into doing something that is good for our lives.
And would you say that the reason why you allowed them to influence you was maybe because you wanted to fit in?
Yes, that was the main reason basically. I wanted to fit into this friend group where I'm welcomed, and I thought, if this is the best way to fit in, why not just do it?
Wow. And what made you then not like religious things like church? Or tell me, how would you be at church then?
At church, I was a different person. At church, I was a church girl, basically. Although all that I knew was that at home we do read the Bible, so I had a foundation on the Bible. So at church, whenever reading verses, I'm the first one to open it, and I would pray and all of that. But I wasn't really into it. My mind wasn't there, but I was just there for the sake of putting on a face for my parents.
So you were just going to church to make your parents happy.
Basically.
How did God then transform you? When was the turning point for you that you actually decided to make the God of your parents your own God?
The turning point was in the year 2020 during COVID. We then moved from Cape Town to Mpumalanga. And that is when my whole life basically changed. Because in Mpumalanga, I don't know anyone. I don't know how to speak Swati. I'm not used to the life there where you have to wake up in the morning, go and fetch water, come back. I don't open water from the tap. No, it was different. When I went there, my parents gave me the freedom, if I can say, to go out. But I didn't feel welcomed by the people that side. And to me, it felt like a sign that, no, what I've been doing all along was wrong. And when I was there, we were then given, in the church that I was at, I was then taught on why we should live in country, why we should do country living. And as we were there, that's when I just got this wake up call to say.
But before you get there, sorry to cut you. I just want you to explain to us and our audience who might not know what this thing of country living might be. When you left Cape Town, what was the reason for you all leaving Cape Town?
So leaving Cape Town, at first I didn't know, but then I later on found out that we were leaving the cities because God has called us to be out of the cities. That in the cities there's not much that we can do. With me, the way that I turned out to be whilst I was in the cities, it was time for me to change and get out of there. So in country living, we form a better life. Basically, we change our ways because now we are in a position where you can't really do what you were doing in the past in the cities.
Oh. It's basically slowing down your life, you removing yourself away from the negative or bad influences that are surrounded in the city life, and you're coming to a more quiet area, a place that is not as populated as a city would be, with less negative or bad influences, and you're spending much more time in nature. So that's basically what country living was.
Yes.
So your parents didn't tell you that this is the decision that they are going to make?
No, I was taken by surprise because that same week I just heard that we are moving. I just thought we were moving to a better place. But the better place was in an area where it wasn't as busy as in the cities.
You know, many people always go on about country living, saying that, you know what, the country and the city is the same thing. You cannot escape the mark of the beast. You cannot escape someone turning out to be having a bad character. I just want to ask you, having grown up in the city, and you look at your life as you lived in the city, and then you look at your life as you went for this country living, can you see any differences in your life, in your character?
Yes, I saw a big difference. In the cities, I was with the friends that I was with, I was there to please them. But in country living, there is no way you can please other people because you have to do what you have to do. And when I was there, I didn't have any friends. I didn't get any friends. And I just felt unwelcomed because I was the way I was in the cities and these people are just different. So it taught me a lesson to say that I was not myself. in the cities. And here I have to be who I am, who I really am, and not the person that I was.
Wow. So you were saying that you attended a church that started explaining the real reason why you were where you were. What kind of lessons were these?
So it was basically a lesson. It was one day when we were there, and we read a verse. I just don't remember the verse, but we read a verse that spoke about how God has a different purpose for each and every one of us. And even though we lead our lives away from Christ, He always has a way of drawing us back to Him. And as I asked a question to the teacher and asked him, so then why was I like this? And I was told that no, I had this feeling that because I'm in the church, I don't feel welcomed by other people. And hence I have to leave the church in order to be welcomed and to be in this world where I can be who I am, in a sense.
So that lesson, it changed your life?
It didn't necessarily change my life, but it made me rethink of all the things that I did. And as time went on, I was like, it's in the past now. I didn't really think much about it after that.
So then when did you get to that turning point of actually deciding to surrender your life to Christ?
It was during a baptismal class that I decided to take. Well, my parents had told me to take the baptismal class, and I went there because my parents said so. I didn't really go there with a decision of my own. But in that class, we were taught that we have to be here because it's our decision that we have made. And I was asked, so why am I getting baptized? And I didn't know. I didn't really know why I'm getting baptized because I couldn't say, my parents have sent me, So I tried thinking out of the top of my head and nothing came up. And they told me, no, come back next week and have an answer. Otherwise, if you don't have an answer, then you will have to leave baptismal class because it is supposed to be a decision that I'm making on my own. And throughout the week, I kept on asking myself, why am I going to this baptismal class? Until I read a verse. I read a verse in Psalms 107 that says that, oh, give thanks to the Lord for He has been good. And for some reason, it just stood out for me. And I was like, why is this verse so stuck in my mind each and every day I'm thinking about it? And it then came to me that I should praise God because He has been so good to me throughout the years until this point. And it then came to me that why I'm getting baptized, even though my parents were the ones that sent me there, now it comes to mind to say that, no, you're getting baptized because you have chosen to lead a life that you're walking with the Savior. And in order for you to live that life, you have to choose baptism.
So, when did you start now developing this relationship with Christ? Because as you said, as you came to the country, you still had the city girl within you, right? You still wanted to live the way you lived back in the city. But now when you came to the country, you still try to live that life. How did you get rid of those things that you had acquired in the city? Like those interests to now start doing something like reading the Bible, which is not necessarily interesting.
Well, it started out with, at home, it was so quiet. And I had nothing to do. I would sleep, wake up, do whatever it is that I have to do around the house. And after that, I have nothing to do. And my dad just told me, go and read the Bible. And I'm like, the Bible? Why in the world do I have to read the Bible? Because it's just the Bible. You have to read it when you're in church. And he then reminded me that what I was doing in the past was not according to God. And now that I want to follow Christ, I have to start reading the Bible in order for me to learn on how exactly am I to follow Christ. And in following Christ, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And that is when I started reading the Bible. And I started off reading with the promises. I was told to start reading the promises. And in reading the promises, I found this new hope, that there's actually hope for me, that I can forget, not really forget, but move on from the past and not continuously be thinking of what should I do next, but regarding the past. And it made me realize that what I was doing was wrong. And these promises just gave me a new foundation to say, now that I'm with Christ, He's going to help me and lead me all the way. And all the things that I've been doing back then, they will be turned into something that will be for the better good.
Wow. So was these experiences before your baptism, or it was after your baptism?
It was before my baptism.
It was before your baptism. So when did you get baptized officially?
I got baptized last year in October.
And when you got baptized, last year being 2022?
Yes.
And when you got baptized, you had now understood the reason why you're getting baptized?
Yes, I had now understood that in me getting baptized, it's now a way of saying that I'm getting rid of the world of the past, of following the world. I'm now into this new place where I'm with Christ. I'm now following Christ and not the things of the world.
Wow. Do you regret getting baptized?
No, I don't. I don't regret it.
Was it a blessing to you?
It was. It was a blessing that I didn't really see until early this year, where I realized that if I hadn't gotten baptized, I don't know what I would be doing right now. I don't think I'd be leading the life that I am right now. I don't think I'd be the church girl that people seem to see. And yeah.
So how did you get over the fact that you don't care about what your friends are going to think now? You're just going to... Because the Bible, being a church girl, being someone that wants to... Being a missionary is not something that is popular. And when you probably choose this life, you're probably going to get a lot of hatred or a lot of mockery for choosing to follow this life. How did you get over the fact that you don't care about what people think?
Well, it was quite hard at first. Before I got baptized, it was hard to really think, what would people think? What would they see me as? And I was just reminded by a pastor saying that what am I doing? Like, am I doing it for God or am I doing it for people? Am I serving God or am I serving the people? Who am I serving? So I must choose for myself. Who am I serving? And if I say I'm serving the people, which means that I have to leave God, I have to leave the things of the church. And that made me realize that I don't have to be a people pleaser, but rather I must please God. I must do what God says I must do.
Wow. So after your baptism now, what were you then doing after you got baptized?
After I got baptized, I was still reading more in the Bible because I didn't really have a strong foundation, and I kept on doing lesson studies at home with my parents, and they kept on helping me on it. And there came a point where I decided to invite the people that I had found as friends, that I called friends, to church. And as they kept on going with me to church at times, they would tell me, why am I going to church? Why is it that? And I tried explaining to them the little that I knew on why we have to go to church, why we have to serve the Lord, why we have to leave the world and go according to God's word.
And did your friends understand, or did they also choose to walk the same path that you walked?
Well, at first I thought that they understood because they kept on coming to me continuously until a time where they said, this is not fun because on Saturdays we used to do this and that and we want to do that. So us going with you to church, it's kind of a hindrance to them. So they cannot do much, and they started stopping. Well, at first they would come 1 week, skip 2 weeks, and they'll give excuses to say, no, at home something was going on, or we had to do this for our parents, and all of that. And they then stopped coming to church.
Wow. Now I understand that you are a full-time missionary here at Purelight Missions. When was the first time, or when did you first hear of Purelight?
I heard of Purelight last year, 2022, in January. I heard it from these two brothers in the area where I live, and they kept on going on and on about Purelight. I'm like, what is Purelight? Until February, when they had I don't remember what it was, but they had a program in Nelspruit, and I had gone with them on that Sunday, where they were giving out books and handing out to people. And that is when I found out more about Purelight and what it is that they do there. And then I had this interest of coming here to Purelight and just being a full-time missionary.
Wow. And yeah, what is the process for you to be able to come here?
Well, I was given I had spoken to the dean, and he said that he's going to send me a document, an application form, of which I have to fill in. And it was a very long application form, but I filled it in. And in filling it in, I had to really be honest with myself and all of that. And then I applied. That was still in February. I applied. I got accepted, but then I got accepted for the next year, which is this year, 2023. And I had a long wait. I had to wait from February 2022 until January. It was quite long for me. And my mom kept on asking me, do you really still want to go each and every month to come and say, and I would say, no, I'm counting down the months. They're going down, they're decreasing until the very last day when I came.
Now, yes, you just briefly mentioned some of the challenges that you were facing, but as Purelight students and as you apply to Purelight missions, between your arrival time and your application time that you're busy applying, there are many challenges that students usually face. What kind of challenges did you go through? I know you touched on it, that you had to wait long, application was long, but can you just tell us in detail, what kind of challenges did you go through?
Okay. So in waiting, there were a few people that had come to me and asked me, so what am I doing with my life? And it was just a few months before coming here, and I told them, no, I'm going to a college, and I'm going to learn more on being a medical missionary, and that's what I want to do. I want to serve the Lord. And I was asked by this one lady saying that, is that really what you want to do? Don't you want to go to a university, be a doctor, and have money? And I said, no, I don't really want to go to a university. I'd rather be here, where I learn more about God and understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, and build a faith within me. And she just discouraged me in saying that I'm leading a worthless life, and what I'm doing is going to make me hate my parents for it, because apparently they're the ones that forced me into coming here. But then I tried explaining to her that it was my decision, but to her it seemed like it wasn't. And there was also another person who had told me that, why don't you just use the money of going to college into building a house, building whatever it is that you need, and you can find work around here and do all of that. And it was a test, I guess, to say, now that I look back to it, it was a test to say, do you really want to be a medical missionary? And I'm glad that I did not fall into whatever they were leading me into, and that I'm here today.
Wow. So those are the only major challenges that you faced?
Yes, those were the major challenges.
Wow. You mentioned that you had to wait a very long period. How did you feel as you had to, like when they told you that you can only come next year? How did that make you feel?
Well, I felt disappointed. I thought it was something that I had done. And then they contacted me after receiving my application form, telling me that I've been accepted. After accepting me, the following day they then told me that the reason why I'm not being accepted is because I'll be behind in all the classes that have already begun, and it wouldn't be reasonable for me to come in March, whereas there's already about 3 or 4 classes I've missed out. I wouldn't be able to catch on. And then it made me understand that, okay, there is actually a reason as to why I'm not going there. So I then didn't lose hope in thinking that, no, maybe they just don't want me to be there. And I just kept on praying about it, asking God to help me in believing that I'm actually going to go to this place and preach on His word.
Thank you so much. Looking back at your life now, there's probably someone out there that is probably in the same situation that you found yourself before you joined Purelight Missions, and they're probably, I don't know, confused with their lives as well. I don't know, is there any advice, any words of encouragement that you can just share with someone that might be watching this testimony?
Well, I would say that the Lord is with you. God has been with you since the beginning and until now. And at times when we feel discouraged, we just have to open to His promises, because He has promised that He would be with us, He would be guiding us. And even with the friends that we choose, let us choose wisely in prayer. Because at times we may choose friends that we think are right, and we see that they lead us into things that are not according to God's will.
Thank you so much, Sister Nobuhle, and that is it from Sister Nobuhle, and I pray and hope that you might be able to take her advice to heart and try and implement this in your life, because I believe that the friends that we make can either break or make us. So go out there, choose wise friends, and allow God to be the one to lead and direct in your life. Thank you once again for joining us, and I hope you'll join us once again next week for another testimony from our first year students. That's it for now. Goodbye.